Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. Oh, I'm thinking about it. we might be ending it all. What's up, everybody? This is Toad. This is Bettor Off Dead. Back with you for Bettor Off Dead. What is this? Wednesday, August 13th. Loser on the show yesterday. It's been bad over the last month, even though the past week or so wasn't that bad. Man, Chicago Cubs losing 5-1 or whatever it was. It's very unfortunate. I thought it was a solid play. Had a couple of professional bettors that I listened to also agreeing basically with the Cubs side in that game. Still did not work out. At least as of right now, I'm not actually betting these, but it's been a lost year for the most part. I mean, I could still have a winning year as far as just tracking every bet is concerned, but March really put me in the tank. Last year was only my second losing year in 17 years, I believe. This is kind of the 18th year. I forget exactly what time of year I actually started way back in the day, but something like that. We need football back, man. My college football last year was awesome. NFL usually is not too bad. NBA usually works well for me. I'm done with baseball. I mean, this is just so bad. And yet I'm going to give out 2 baseball plays today, so be prepared for that. And they're probably not very interesting. Let's just get right into this, man. It's the rundown, whatever. We got WNBA here. Don't know if anybody cares, except we do have 4 games today. Maybe there'll be a dildo. I think we haven't seen a dildo in a while. Chicago at Connecticut. I mean, this is probably the worst game imaginable. I mean, how do you even handicap a game like this? These teams are terrible. Connecticut's lost 5 games in a row. They're returning over from a road trip to the Pacific Coast, too, which is a really bad spot. So not only are they the worst team in the league, but they're also in a pretty bad spot. Chicago coming in, they're on a multiple game losing streak as well. They've only won 1 game going all the way back to whatever this was that they beat Minnesota, which was, I don't know, weeks ago probably at this point. Neither of these teams are in good shape right now, man. And what's hilarious about this is that even though Connecticut's the worst team in the league, they're actually favored in this game. They're from 1.5 to 3.5. It's possible that Reese is out for this game again. I don't even know, man. Yeah, she is actually out for this game. So there's a lot of injuries on the sky right now. It's just part of the reason why Connecticut's actually favored here. Because you look at this, you think, how could Connecticut be favored against anybody? Well, they're at home. They're against the second worst team in the league. And the second worst team in the league has injury problems right now. So that's basically why. But there's no way I would touch that game. I think Connecticut's in a bad spot. But Chicago's just decimated by injuries that it's like, what can you even do with this game? I don't even know if a total makes sense. The total's gone up to 160, though, which is still a fairly low total. Not as low as in the second game here, Golden State and Washington with an extremely low total in this game. I don't do WNBA totals, though, man. Just sides occasionally. I haven't given out one in a while now. Washington, they're also returning home from a road trip. They went a bit all over the place. They kind of just went to the Midwest, and then they went to Dallas. They finally broke their loss streak, so that could be an indicator that they might have some momentum moving forward, but they're returning home from a road trip, which, again, that tends to be a little bit of an issue, a distracted spot because you have to get back to home life, whatever. Golden State, they're starting a road trip with some momentum because they won their last 2 games at home. So it's a little bit of a better spot for them in a way because usually when you go out on the road, you tend to focus on that first game on the road trip. Both teams do kind of have reason to be focused here, though, because they're both right around 500 record-wise, and they're fighting to make the playoffs here. So both teams should really show up for this. The money's come in on Golden State. I don't disagree with that, again, because it is the return home spot for Washington, so the spot is better for the Valkyries. They've flipped from a 1.5-point dog to a 1.5-point favorite, so I would disagree with that, even though they are missing one of their best players for the rest of the year in Thornton. New York at Las Vegas is a pretty decent matchup. I mean, it's really based on WNBA standards, at least, it's a decent matchup. Vegas has been playing pretty well recently. They've won 4 more games in a row, coming off an easy win over Connecticut that they looked like they didn't really even show up for that game, and they still just won it by 8. Didn't really matter. It was almost kind of a sandwich spot because they had Seattle and the Liberty surrounding it. So it wasn't a great spot for Vegas, so they do have some momentum here. I expect them to show up against the Liberty, who have the best team in the East still. Vegas pretty much has ensured that they're going to make the playoffs at this point, but I guess they have to continue winning to really make sure of that. But they're not going to overlook the Liberty. The Liberty have won 4 of the last 5 as well. They're already on the road now. They just beat LA in LA, and now they're coming into Vegas. So the travel spot, maybe not as bad as it could be for them because they have already adjusted to the Pacific time zone. I still think Vegas is probably the right side, though, because they're not even traveling at all. They kind of need the win a little bit more than New York does. And the fact that they're favored against a team with a better record kind of looks like, well, it almost looks too easy to take the Liberty. But I would lay it with Vegas if I was going to do this game. Vegas up from 2 to 2.5 here. So the money kind of agreeing with that. Andrew, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. I apologize for always having like heartburn in the morning. I'm belching on the stream. It's awesome, baby. And Atlanta-Seattle is the final game here. Seattle's really been in a slide, man. They've lost 5 games in a row. They're not as bad as this makes them look. I mean, the majority of those games were basically against some of the better teams, although they did lose twice to LA. They are returning home here, but they didn't leave the Pacific time zone, so it's not really the worst return home spot possible. In Seattle, they really need a game, man, because they're sitting at 500, which in itself is kind of a motivator because you don't really want to see your record be below 500, but also they're trying to make the playoffs here at this point. Atlanta may pay a little bit less attention here. Atlanta is on a win streak, though. They won 5 games in a row. They're playing well. Brittany Griner came back in the last game, although he/she/it came off the bench and didn't play that many minutes, but I expect Griner probably will be back getting more minutes in this game. But it is a 3rd straight road game for Atlanta. Not really the easiest spot for Atlanta, but if Griner's back in the starting lineup, it could kind of maybe throw off their chemistry a little bit if they decide to do that. I don't know, but Seattle's flipped from a 1-point dog to a 2-point favorite. I don't disagree with that. I think Seattle's in the somewhat better spot, and they need the game more, even though the momentum aspect of it is kind of against them. But I don't really disagree with that move. All right, let's go to Major League Baseball here, man. We got afternoon baseball because it's Wednesday. A lot of these teams are going to be traveling. You can see I do have a bet on, I'm going to give out a play on the Twins, Yankees, and I'm going to give out, and you probably know what it is already if you know how I handicap stuff. And I'm going to give out one on Pittsburgh and Milwaukee, which maybe I shouldn't even be doing, but I just think I just don't see how I can't do it, man. I mean, I've said stuff like that before, though, and it has failed, but I just think it's going to be the way to go. Detroit and the White Sox is the first game up, which doesn't really look like a very interesting matchup, although the White Sox did win yesterday 9-6. The White Sox obviously have the worst offense. They have the worst of the 2 bullpens. We know Detroit's the better team. Bullpen usage-wise yesterday, basically pretty similar. Each team used 3 pitchers. The White Sox bullpen maybe a little bit more rested than Detroit's is, but Detroit still has the better bullpen. The problem with Detroit's pitching here is they're undecided on their starting pitcher, so we don't even know who's going to pitch for them. Meanwhile, Shane Smith, the rookie for the White Sox, is pitching here. He was really good at the start of the season, and I think he started to kind of just tire out a little bit, but he is now coming off of being injured, and I think this is his second appearance since being injured. His numbers on the season are okay, 4.22 ERA, 1.29 whip. Been very similar home and away. It doesn't really matter. he was injured for a bit, and then he came back, and he made a start on August 1st. Actually, this is going to be his third start since he came back. His first start wasn't very good. He walked 4 guys against Anaheim, didn't make it through 5 innings, but he only allowed 2 earned runs, which wasn't that bad. Last start out, though, he seemed to be coming back into form because he had 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, and a 5-inning performance against Seattle, only allowing 2 earned runs. That's fairly impressive. So Smith might be on the right track here. Detroit has seen him, though. So I think maybe part of the reason why he did do well against Detroit the first time he faced them, which I assume was earlier this year, part of that was the fact that Detroit had never seen Smith before. So sometimes it's a little bit of an edge to that young pitcher when they're a talented pitcher and the opposing offense hasn't seen them before. But he did do well against them, so his numbers against Detroit are good. Small 16 at-bat sample size, but Detroit had no extra base hits, 5-1 strikeout walk ratio, 188 average, and 423 OPS. So it is possible Smith pitches well again here. Detroit's definitely going to be favored. ESPN is looking like they only have them around -130, which it's going to be a small favorite price on Detroit. And I think the public is going to tend to want to come in on the Detroit side here. And I would hesitate with that. I think there might be a little bit of value maybe in looking to Chicago, maybe as a home underdog, maybe in the first 5 if you don't want to deal with the fact their bullpen is pretty bad. So that's the way I look at that. Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, I'm going to give it a play on this, which I will wait until the best bet segment for that. Washington at Kansas City. Kansas City is on the verge of a sweep here, which on the one hand might mean they might take Washington a little bit lightly here, and Washington might have a little bit extra motivation, but Kansas City's sitting at 500, man. They're still not technically out of the playoff race here. So I think those are motivating factors for Kansas City. I mean, you don't want to be below 500 again. You want to keep playing well, so I don't think Kansas City's going to not show up in this game or anything like that. So I don't think the motivational factor there is that big. Is that lopsided one way or the other, I should say. Kansas City absolutely has the better of the 2 bullpens between the 2 teams. Kansas City used 1 additional reliever yesterday, but they didn't use a couple of their relievers. They didn't have them throw that many pitches, so the bullpen edge certainly still goes to Kansas City. Washington does have the better offense, although their offense isn't that good. They're decent on the road. Starting pitching, I think you got to give the edge to Kansas City. Jake Irvin pitching for Washington hasn't been that good at all. 4.9 ERA, 1.34 whip. He's been worse on the road, 5.06 ERA on the road. This month in 2 starts hasn't been good either. 5-2 strikeout walk ratio. He's given up 16 hits and 8 runs in 9 1/3 innings. I mean, one was against Washington, Washington. This is Washington. One was against, he's on Washington. What am I saying? I keep saying the wrong team, man. I'm so out of it in the morning. One was against Milwaukee. They're a really good offense, so maybe you give him a pass for that, but he didn't do that well at San Francisco either. So Irvin's not in good form here, man. 7.71 ERA over the last month. I mean, during this month, I should say, in the past 2 starts. He's not pitching well. And up against Kansas City, he does have good numbers against them, though, even though only 4 of their hitters have seen him before. 23 at-bats. They only have 2 hits off him, though 1 is a home run from Yaz. But 0.87 batting average allowed in 342 OPS. So Irvin has handled this really bad Kansas City lineup, but I'm still not really ready to trust Irvin. I don't think I'm ready to trust Seth Lugo either after what he did to me last time, man. Seth Lugo, what are you doing to me, man? Lugo still has pretty good numbers on the season. 3.46 ERA, 1.2 whip for Kansas City. He's better at home, 2.69 ERA at home. His last start was bad, which was on the road. He gave up 7 earned runs, man, and I was expecting an under in that game, if I remember correctly. That was the play I gave out on that game. He's been bad in 2 starts this month. They were both on the road, though, but he failed to make it 5 innings in either one. 4 strikeouts, 6 walks, 9.35 ERA. Although, granted, that start against Minnesota skewing everything, giving up 7 earned runs. He may return to form a little bit here. I mean, his numbers against Washington are pretty good, and 40 at-bats. He has 11 strikeouts against them, 1 walk, 225 average, 519 OPS. So, Lugo, you got to decide whether you think he's actually in really bad form right now, or maybe that one start was just a heavy outlier. I don't know which way I would want to go with this, but the money actually looks like it's coming in on Washington, with Kansas City down from -180 to -169. 79% of tickets, only 71% of the cash on them. I don't disagree with it necessarily, although I really don't trust Irvin, man. So that's the issue there. Kansas City, probably the feeling is they shouldn't be favored by this much. I mean, their offense is bad enough that it makes it hard for them to really get like a stranglehold lead on most games. It's probably going to be, I mean, you expect a lot of games in Kauffman Stadium to be low scoring because it is a pitcher-friendly park. Money is coming in on the under. Total came out at 9, which is a fairly high total for a game at this stadium, especially with two pretty bad offenses. 52% of tickets, 70% of the cash on the under. So the money coming in on the under in that game as well, but I'm not going to touch that game, obviously. I don't want anything to do with it. I definitely don't want anything to do with Colorado and St. Louis. St. Louis actually lost and got shut out yesterday by Colorado. They actually couldn't hit Kyle Freeland yesterday. Colorado, very, very, very rare that Colorado was going to shut out a team on the road. That's just crazy. Colorado, they're just historically bad, but they actually saved their bullpen. They only used one relief pitcher. St. Louis used 3. St. Louis still has the somewhat better bullpen, although neither bullpen is really that good at this point. St. Louis does have the better offense. Austin Gomber is pitching for Colorado here. Bad numbers, 6.52 ERA, 1.57 whip. He's a little bit better on the road, 5.92 ERA, although that's relative to not pitching well in Coors Field. This month hasn't been particularly good, 7.36 ERA in 2 starts, an 8-4 strikeout walk ratio. He gave up 3 earned runs to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, very bad offense. And then on the road at Arizona, which is a difficult assignment. I mean, that's a good offense still at a hitter-friendly park. But he gave up 6 earned runs to Arizona. I mean, he's not pitching well right now. His numbers against St. Louis are pretty bad as well. In 70 at-bats, a 343 average allowed, 958 OPS. So it's not looking very good for him in this game. He's going up against Michael McGreevy, who's a young pitcher that does have some upside, I would say. His strikeout rate is not very high, but sometimes he comes out and gets the job done. 4.4 ERA, 1.22 whip. Those are not awful numbers. He is worse at home, though, 5.33 ERA. But he's coming off a shutout of the Cubs for 6 innings, which is pretty impressive. And St. Louis has actually won 5 of his last 6 starts. Although some of it was because St. Louis gave him some run support there. He's allowed some runs in those starts, so it wasn't all him just blowing guys away or anything like that. Although this month he's gone 6 innings in both starts. He's allowed 4 runs combined, 7-2 strikeout walk ratio, 3 ERA. That's not too bad. So he's in decent form right now. Mediocre numbers against Colorado in 28 at-bats, 3.0 strikeout walk ratio. Shunk has a home run off him. Shunk. I don't even know who that is. I don't know these young hitters that the Rockies have. 286 batting average allowed, but only a 679 OPS, so pretty low OPS. Got to tilt the scales towards McGreevy. I mean, St. Louis does appear to have every edge in this game, at least slightly, but they're a huge favorite. I mean, again, Colorado's going to be a huge underdog every game because they're just so historically bad. It's up from minus 195 to minus 205. I'm on the money line on St. Louis. 93% of tickets, 97% of the cash on them. I mean, if you wanted to go St. Louis run line, you could. I mean, I don't know. I probably wouldn't beat you up too much over it, but I don't love it. And then the total's down from 9 to 8. So a pretty significant move towards the under. 69% of tickets on the over, 90% of the cash on the under. I don't know if I would agree with that, man, with a questionable pitcher, at least on one side. I mean, I could see both pitchers potentially not doing particularly well in this game. So the money coming in on the under seems odd to me as well. But, I mean, I'm not going to give out anything on that game. Arizona at Texas. I was wrong about yesterday's game being high scoring. I thought after the bullpens got blown out in the first game, and I leaned to the over in both of these games so far, and it happened in the first game and not in the second game. I mean, Texas's bullpen is good. They're the better bullpen. Arizona is the better offense of these two, but Arizona's bullpen stinks, and with Texas's bullpen being pretty overworked, that's why I've been looking towards overs in this series. Texas, again, overworked bullpen still. They used numerous relief pitchers yesterday as well. Arizona didn't use quite as many, but their bullpen is still bad. So late in this game, I could see more runs being scored. The starting pitching is a little bit questionable as well. Zach Gallen is pitching for Arizona. Pretty much a lost season for him. He's been way worse this season than what you would expect. 5.31 ERA, 1.35 whip. He's actually been a little bit better on the road. 5.05 ERA on the road. This month, he hasn't been that bad, though. He's gone 6 innings in each start, giving up 2 and 1 earned run, 9-3 strikeout walk ratio. So he's been okay this month. His team has won both of his games. One was at that A's stadium, too, which is fairly impressive to pitch well in that ballpark. And then he pitched well against Colorado, which I don't think you really will give him accolades for that. His numbers against Texas are actually good, though, in a big 121 at-bat sample size. 39-10 strikeout walk ratio, 215 average allowed, 572 OPS, and he's only allowed 2 home runs. So he does pitch well against Texas. He does pitch well on the road. So I could see an argument that Gallon will pitch well in this game. Going up against Merrill Kelly, who I believe has made 2 starts now for Texas. He's been pretty good overall this season, 3.38 ERA, 1.08 whip. He's been a little bit worse at home, 3.71 ERA, but that includes his numbers with Arizona, and that's a hitter-friendly park. So this is an interesting game, man, because he's pitching against his former team. So he got traded to Texas. He's now on a team that might make the playoffs, whereas Arizona will not make the playoffs. But now he's pitching for the first time against his former team, and usually that will pump a pitcher up, man. When you get to pitch against your former team, that usually is a motivational spot for them. Kelly did really bad in his most recent start against Philly. That is a good offense. 5 walks compared to 4 strikeouts. Allowed 4 earned runs. Failed to make it 5 innings, so it wasn't good. His first start was better with Texas, going 5 2/3, 6 strikeouts, no walks, allowing 2 earned runs against Seattle. I'm kind of expecting him to come out and pitch a little bit better in this game, and the Diamondbacks haven't seen a whole lot of them. 3 of their hitters have faced him before because, of course, he was on their team for a while. 11 at-bats, 6 strikeouts, no walks, no extra base hits, 0.91 average, 182 OPS. So I could see arguments that this is kind of a sneaky under type of game here, but I would go under in the first 5 innings in this game. We have 95% of the cash, only 95% of tickets, only 80% of the cash on the over, and the total's just kind of sitting in the 8 range, which is kind of no man's land there. I would probably go first 5 innings under in this game, man, because I could definitely see the argument that both of these pitchers, even though Gallon has bad numbers this year, all the stuff that I said, him versus Kelly, it looks like they both might actually pitch well in this game. So that's kind of the way that I'm leaning in this game. Texas is up for -140, -145, 87% of tickets, only 83% of the cash. So it looks like some of the money is actually fading a public Texas team and grabbing Arizona as the underdog here. If I were to do that, I mean, I could see the argument for that, and maybe you actually want to leave the bullpens in the game for that one because Texas does have an overworked bullpen, which kind of takes away their bullpen advantage a little bit. Arizona definitely has a hitting advantage, but I don't really love that idea, though. It seems close, like it seems tough to me to do that. I think the way that I would lean in that game again is under first 5 innings. I'm tempted to actually make that a play, but I'm not going to do it. San Diego at San Francisco. San Diego won again yesterday. San Francisco on a 4-game loss streak. San Francisco, a couple games below 500. They're looking like they might be a dead team at this point, man. And San Diego certainly in the playoff hunt here. So it's not looking very good for San Diego in this one. Actually, hold on, let me check. I don't think I checked my my audio when I started. Hopefully I don't have to start over. I assume my mic audio is fine though, right? You guys can let me know. All you 0 people who are probably in here now, except maybe Andrew is still here, because he wants to hear me talk about Anaheim. His Anaheim Angels are doing pretty well here. Yeah, I'm doing all right here. All right. Yeah, so San Diego won again yesterday. They're certainly playing for playoff positioning right now and whatever. San Diego, both of these bullpens are good. San Diego tends to use their bullpen more than what I would like. So their bullpen usage is higher than San Francisco's, but they're still both pretty good bullpens. Pretty bad offenses. I think you give the slight bullpen edge to San Francisco, I would say, just because of the rest. San Diego has a slightly better hitting team. And then the starting pitching matchup, somewhat interesting with Nick Pivetta pitching for San Diego, having a good season, 2.94 ERA, 0.96 whip. He is somewhat worse on the road, though, 3.67 ERA, although this is a pitcher-friendly park here, just like his home stadium is. Coming off a bad start against his former team and my team, the Boston Red Sox, where he gave up 5 earned runs at home to the Red Sox and took a loss in that one. 3 walks in that game as well. But prior to that, he was pitching really well. He hadn't given up more than 2 earned runs in any start going all the way back into late June. And he had allowed 1 or fewer in all but one of those starts. So he is pitching well, aside from this Red Sox game, which you might say was a little bit of an outlier. So I'm not going to beat him up really for that. His numbers against San Francisco are okay in 90 at-bats. 32-5 strikeout walk ratio is really good. 256 batting average is pretty low. 761 OPS is a little bit high, mostly because he's allowed 10 doubles in addition to the 2 home runs allowed. But overall, I think he does do okay against them. San Francisco, Kai-Wei Tang listed as the starter for them. Not good numbers this year. 5.4 ERA, 1.32 whip, although he has a 0 ERA at home. But he's only made 2 appearances this year, and he had a bad start. These are both starts for him, although I think he had no starts in his major league career until this year. Had a bad start against the Mets, where he didn't make it through 4 innings, walked 3 guys, allowed 5 earned runs on the road, but at home he actually had a good start against Washington, actually shut them out for 5 innings and threw fewer pitches in that one than he did against the Mets. So he was really efficient, but I'm still not sure that he's going to go that deep into this game, man, because I don't know if he's on like a pitch count or anything. To me, it doesn't seem like he's a guy that's going to be like a full-fledged starter. Like we haven't seen him do that yet. We haven't seen him throw more than 67 pitches. So I'm expecting that he won't do that. So he might not last too long in this game. San Diego only has 9 at-bats against him. They do have a 333 average and 956 OPS against him. 1-1 strikeout walk ratio. So they've seen him a little bit, but he is somewhat unfamiliar to them. Nick Pivetta, I mean, you got to say that he's the more trustworthy of the 2 starters here. The money, I think, is probably coming in against San Diego, though, because home underdogs have been a pretty good bet in Major League Baseball just in general, especially this year. 70% of tickets, only 57% of the cash on San Diego is a minus 145 road favorite. So the money looks like it's fading San Diego as the road favorite there. I'm not ready to do that, but I think some of it is because the price is probably a little bit too high on San Diego, but San Francisco just hasn't been getting it done, man. I think maybe you still should trust Nick Pivetta a little bit more. So I'm not going to come in and do that. Philadelphia at Cincinnati. This starting pitching matchup, I looked at this and I said, I want to go under in this game until I dug into the pitching matchup a little more, because it still could happen, because this looks like a really, really good pitching matchup with 2 really good starting pitchers on the mound. Cincinnati won yesterday after losing the first game of the series. Both of these teams are still fighting. Cincinnati might be able to still make the playoffs, and Philly might actually be a little bit less motivated coming into this game, because I think they're well on top of their division right now. They're definitely going to make the playoffs. Cincinnati, I would say, has the slightly better bullpen. Both bullpens are pretty rested actually right now. Not a bad rest scenario for either bullpen. Philly has the better offense. With this starting pitching matchup, if you like pitching duels, this could be one, but it's possible that it won't be. Christopher Sanchez pitching, and after Skeens got kind of beat up yesterday by Milwaukee, people were talking about Christopher Sanchez potentially being the Cy Young winner in the National League, and he didn't even make the All-Star game, which I said was BS that he didn't, because he's having a really good season, and for the most part, he's been under the radar. 2.36 ERA, 1.08 whip here for Philly. Very similar home and away numbers. This month, he's been dominant, giving up 1 run total in 14 innings, 12 strikeouts, 2 walks, 11 hits allowed, a .64 ERA. Last month, 1.95 ERA, 36-5 strikeout walk ratio. He's only allowed more than 1 earned run in any start going all the way back to mid-June. And you have to go all the way back into late May to find a start where he gave up more than 2 earned runs, besides that one weirdly bad start against the White Sox, which still wasn't even that bad, really, recently. So Sanchez, he's pretty much dominating, man. But you start digging into these specific matchup numbers, and it's interesting that both starting pitchers actually have bad specific matchup stats. 27 at-bats. I know it's not a big sample size, but the Reds have hit him pretty well. 370 batting average, 821 OPS. So I hesitate a little bit, though, although I think recent form does matter more. So I do think Sanchez, I think it's more likely that he pitches well than not. And I'm going to say the same thing about Hunter Green, who is coming back for the Reds. Although, again, when you have a young guy like this who's coming back from the DL, sometimes they take a little while to get used to pitching again. Although, of course, they've definitely made like rehab starts and pitched in the minors. Like they're not coming in totally cold here, but they haven't pitched in the majors for a while. Sometimes I like it, especially with a more veteran pitcher. I think they get a little bit undervalued when they're coming back from the DL or IL, but maybe not when they're like a young pitcher and they're less used to it. Although Green, he's been like kind of on and off of the IL for a bit now, man. And then he comes out and he vomits on the mound and whatever. But for the last couple of seasons, he's been really good. And even when he wasn't pitching well in the majors earlier in his career, I looked at his stats and I said, this guy's going to be good, man. I do like him. This season, his numbers are good. 2.72 ERA, 0.97 whip. And if Cincinnati's going to make a late playoff push here, they need this guy in the rotation, man. The 1-2 punch with him and Abbott both in the rotation would be pretty sick for Cincinnati here, man. Hunter Green, he is better at home as well, even though it's a pretty hitter-friendly park. 2.12 ERA at home, so he pitches well at home. He was pitching pretty well before he went on the DL as well. He'd allowed no more than 2 earned runs in any start over the past month or so before he went down in early June. He's allowed more than 2 earned runs only once on the season, and only once has he allowed more than 3 earned runs. Or he's allowed more than 2 earned runs twice and more than 3 earned runs once. So he is pitching well. His strikeout rate's really crazy. Doesn't allow a lot of hits. His walk rate is fairly low as well. He's good, man. I mean, we get it. He's definitely good. But he might take a little while to readjust, and his numbers against the Phillies are not good. I mean, we know they're a good offense. He has 52 at-bats against them. 14-4 strikeout walk ratio is good, but a 308 average and 876 OPS is not that good. So again, both starting pitchers, on the surface, I said, this is going to be an under. And then I looked at the starting pitching matchup numbers, and I said, oh, shit. So I definitely have there's reason for me to pause on that. If I was going to go under, I would still probably agree with doing it in the first 5 innings because I think it's probably more likely that the pitchers do well than that they don't. But the money looks like it's kind of disagreeing with that a little bit, although the juice on the 8.5 over has gone down a little bit. But we do see 64% of tickets, only 59% of the cash on the under. So we'll see what happens with that. And the money seems to be coming in pretty strong market indicator on the Reds. Philly down from minus 135 to minus 121. 70% of tickets, only 52% of the cash. So again, Cincinnati, one of those home underdogs there, and they do have a good pitcher on the mound. So I could see some arguments for that as well. Again, just getting a pretty good price on Cincinnati at the very least. You got to hope the Green is ready to go, though. You know, and sometimes the pitcher will be a bit undervalued, man. And I think some of it is that Sanchez is getting all this hype now all of a sudden, and that Green is completely under the radar right now because he's been hurt. People still don't really know how good he is. So I think that is probably overvaluing Philadelphia a little bit. The public's going to be on the team that has the better record in Philadelphia, but Cincinnati, again, might have a little bit of extra motivation there as well. So I don't really disagree with the Reds side there. Seattle at Baltimore, this is a pitching matchup that looks like it could be interesting as well. Baltimore lost the first game of this series. The series started yesterday, and Seattle won the game 1-0. Seattle does have the better of the 2 bullpens. Seattle has the better offense as well. Neither bullpen has seen a lot of usage at all, so we do have some rested bullpens here. So if you did want to go under on this one, full game might still be okay in a game like this where the bullpens are at least rested, even though Baltimore's is kind of a questionable bullpen. Logan Gilbert is pitching for Seattle. He is one of their best pitchers. 3.35 ERA, 0.98 whip. Although, like with all Seattle's pitchers, he is worse on the road, and he is significantly worse on the road. 5.28 ERA. So that's where I start dialing it back a little bit and thinking, oh, man, do I really want to go with an under in this game? Because Gilbert is bad on the road. He's been pretty good this month in 2 starts. Seattle won both of the starts. 13-3 strikeout walk ratio in 11 innings. Gave up 4 earned runs, 3.27 ERA. He's given up 4 or fewer earned runs in every start on the entire season, so that's pretty good. He was injured for a little bit of it. Mostly he's been pitching well, man. His team has won a bunch of his starts. What is that? It's 6 of his last 8 starts his team has won behind him. So generally he is pitching well, and his numbers are fairly decent against, or pretty good, I would say, against Baltimore. It's a small 24 at-bat sample size, 208 average, allowed 713 OPS with a 9-3 strikeout walk ratio. So Gilbert, even though he is bad on the road, this might be a position where he might pitch better than he usually does on the road because it's a pretty weak Baltimore offense that doesn't do well against him. And Trevor Rogers, who's been a complete surprise, Because, again, he was a guy that I was saying, well, he wasn't that good when he was on Miami a couple of years ago. He wasn't really good when he was in the minors this year, and all of a sudden, he's been really good for Baltimore. He's been their best starter, 1.44 ERA, 0.83 whip. I mean, I don't see any way that he keeps those numbers up and keeps them that good, but he has been really good. And he has a .42 ERA at home, which is insane. He's pitching really well this month. 2 starts, going 14 combined innings against the Cubs and Philadelphia, both on the road, and he only allowed 1 earned run in each of them and had a 14-2 strikeout walk ratio. So he pretty much dominated 2 of the best lineups in all of baseball, both on the road. So I think it's probably, we got to be ready to say Rogers is actually pretty good. He's in good form right now. He hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs since his second appearance of the entire season, and he has never allowed more than 3 earned runs this entire season. He's pitching really well, man. I mean, there's no other way to put it, really. He's won 6 of his last 8 starts as well. I think it's 6 of 8, I think, on the entire season as well, something like that. His numbers are not good against the Mariners, man, so that's the other hesitation that I have here with wanting to go under here. I mean, both pitchers are pitching really well. They're good. So that is definitely a reason to consider an under in this game, but these things just give me a bit of a hesitation, man. I don't use like the matchup numbers as like the be-all, end-all here, but they definitely are kind of like a clinching factor for me. 26 at-bats, I know it's not a big sample size, but Rogers has allowed a 346 average, 1,145 OPS, 3 home runs with 2 of them from Arozarena against the Mariners at a 6-3 strikeout walk ratio, so those are my hesitations on that. That Gilbert is really bad on the road typically, and Rogers not good specifically against Seattle. But the way these pitchers have been pitching this season, I think I still give the nod towards the under. But we see 63% of tickets on the under and 50% of the cash on the over. So seems to be disagreeing with me a little bit. Total did drop from 9 to 8.5 though. To juice to the under, which is a somewhat significant move from 9 juice to the over too. So going through a key number of 9 in baseball like that does tell you that was a fairly significant move. I would still lean that way, under in the first 5 innings here. The money line dropped on Seattle. Again, a road favorite here, down from -145 to -138, but they seem to be getting the cash. 58% of tickets, 69% of the cash on them. I mean, I could see that if you're looking at the matchup numbers as a clincher. Gilbert has the better matchup numbers over Rogers. Seattle is the better team overall. Do you give Gilbert the matchup advantage over Rogers? Maybe you do, and then Seattle does have the advantage, I think, throughout the rest of the game. So maybe that's part of the reason why. And Seattle, of course, is the team that has something to play for, whereas Baltimore does not. So all things to keep in mind there. Miami at Cleveland, this was close to being a play for me, man. There's really just kind of one factor that's kind of keeping me away from playing an under in this game between Miami and Cleveland. Other than the fact that I don't love either bullpen either, really. Bullpen saw some usage yesterday. Cleveland used 4 relief pitchers, but they were rested the day before that, so both teams were off the day before that, so the bullpen rest scenario is still okay. Miami used 3 relievers yesterday, but we're looking at a couple of mediocre bullpens. Cleveland's, I think, is the somewhat better. Cleveland's is actually a little bit better than mediocre. Miami's a little bit down further. Miami's is in kind of the bottom third, so worry about the bullpens a little bit. I could still see the argument for a first 5 under as well, though the total's so low that you might not be able to find a good number on the first 5. You know me, and I don't love those 3.5s, even though I was giving out some of them earlier in the season. If you find an under 4 on the first 5 innings, maybe that's worth considering. If you find an under 8 for the full game, which I did see that out there too, maybe that's worth considering as well. But you do have to worry, again, bullpen's a little bit, but at least they're rested, and neither offense is that good, so that's the other factor here. Cleveland is actually like a bottom several offense in all of baseball. Miami is, I think, barely better than the bottom third, I would say. Let's look at the hitting stats here real quick. I don't know where they're at now. Yeah, I mean, that's basically exactly what I said is correct there, yeah. So, yeah, that's what you got going on in this game. And then for Miami, you have Yuri Perez pitching. You know, I've been praising this guy for a while now. He's been pitching quite well for the most part. Again, he's a guy that started his career really early on, and he was almost, I would say, dominant when he was even as young as 20 years old. He had some pretty serious injuries, came back this year after missing, I think, an entire season was struggling for a bit, but since then he's been pitching really well, except for his most recent start, which I'll talk about in a second. But overall, 3.25 ERA, 1.01 WHIP. I definitely like this guy. He is definitely good. He has been worse on the road, though. 4.01 ERA on the road, so he does struggle a bit on the road. Last start was on the road, and he didn't pitch particularly well against Atlanta. Gave up 3 home runs, which definitely hurt his cause there. 5 earned runs allowed in 5 innings pitched, 5 1/3 innings pitched. But he also only struck out 1 and walked 2 guys. So his walk numbers are a bit of a concern with multiple walks now in 4 straight starts, only going more than 5 innings in one of those starts. So his dominant run has kind of faded a little bit here. So I am worried that he's got a little bit out of form here, which worries me a little bit as far as the under. But Cleveland has barely seen him before. Only 2 of their hitters have seen him before, and they're 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts off him. So I do think Perez may have the ability to bounce back here against a bad offense that has pretty much never seen him before. So that should be an advantage to a young guy like Perez that does have really good stuff. So this could be a bounce back spot for him. But I hesitate a little bit with his recent form. And I'll tell you why I hesitate with Gavin Williams a little bit in a second. Well, a couple of reasons. Gavin Williams pitching for Cleveland, ERA is actually quite good, 3.17 ERA, but his WHIP is fairly high, 1.3. So he's a guy that, he's one of those guys I can't quite figure out, man, because the WHIP like that tells me that he's not as good as his ERA suggests, but he does have glimpses where he's quite good. I think he induces a lot of ground balls to kind of get out of some of these. I'll have to look at that. Well, I'll look at that right now, actually. Yeah, he does get a decent amount of ground balls, I guess. Yeah. So that's part of the reason why he does kind of get out of some of these jams. But to me, I think you still can't put guys on base like this and get away with it. He is better at home, 2.77 ERA, so his split is good in this game. And he's been pretty good recently. His team has won 3 of his last 4 starts. He's allowed no more than 2 earned runs in any of those starts. This month, he has a .61 ERA in 2 starts, 14 2/3 innings pitched, only allowing 1 earned run. 14 strikeouts, but 6 walks. So the walks are a bit of a concern. And the major concern I have with him is, what did he just do? On the road against the Mets, he had a no-hitter, I believe, with 1 out to go in the 9th inning. I believe he carried a no-hitter through 8 2/3 of this game against the Mets. He had 4 walks in the game, which isn't that good. 6 strikeouts, decent. I mean, he's not a huge strikeout guy. But he had allowed no hits until the final at-bats of the game, and he finally allowed a hit, and they took him out. But Cleveland, because, I mean, even though it looks like they actually have some motivation here, so I will say, by the way, Cleveland has a little bit more motivation here because I think they can still technically make the playoffs, and Miami, I don't believe, can. Well, maybe technically they still can, but Miami is below 500, so they're pretty much out of it. Cleveland is above 500 and on such a hot streak right now that they might be able to do something. But Gavin Williams in that start, the pitching coaches, whatever, the coaching just said, let's let him go for his no-hitter, man. And in doing so, he failed to get the no-hitter, and he threw 126 pitches, which is probably the most he's ever thrown in his career. So that's what worries me a little bit. He threw 100 pitches a couple other times this year, and he did mediocre in his couple of starts after those. He wasn't terrible in either start after that, but not great either. Actually, he had 1 good start after he threw 100 pitches in a very short outing against the Dodgers, where he really, really was unbelievably inefficient. And then he actually pitched better in the next start after that one. So he has gone over 100 pitches a few times, but I do worry, man. 126 is a different ball game. And when you're on the verge of having a no-hitter like that, and you fail to get it with 1 out remaining, you might be in a bit of a hangover spot, man. So that's what really, really worries me about Gavin Williams coming into this, because otherwise I would probably say, yeah, go under in this game. Miami's never faced him before, so he might have a little bit of an extra edge here against Miami, and they're a weaker offense than the Mets too. So Miami does have a little bit of an edge in that regard. Williams does have a little bit of an edge in that regard. Cleveland's been playing well, by the way. They've won 5 of their last 6 of their last 7, whatever that is, and 10 of their last 12 games, including beating Miami yesterday. So Cleveland, again, they're playing like a team that is pretty motivated right now. So all that being considered, I do still lean to the under in this game, but I couldn't make it a play just because mostly I'm really, really worried about Gavin Williams coming off that no-hitter, or no-hit bid, that near no-hitter. 59% of the tickets on the over, 63% of the cash on the under. Money is coming in the under. It is a low total for a reason here, man. Money coming in on Cleveland as well. 86% of tickets, 89% of the cash up from -125 to -128. I mean, they are the somewhat better team. I would agree with that. Miami actually has a really bad run differential, way worse than what their record would indicate. They're probably -60 or so runs, I would guess, which is kind of ridiculous. That their record is even anywhere close to where it is. Similar to Anaheim, I believe. I might have that run differential wrong, but I know it's not good. So we'll see what happens in that game, man. But I still think leaning towards the unders a way to look in that game. I just have some pause on that. Minnesota at Yankees, I'll give that out in the best bet segment. Cubs at Toronto. Unfortunately, I had this game wrong yesterday. Toronto with the 5-1 win yesterday, despite being in a return home spot as well. Toronto's got the better of these two bullpens, but they used 5 relief pitchers yesterday, so their bullpen a little bit unrested, but so did the Dodgers. Both teams used 5 relief pitchers, so I think the bullpen edge still goes to Toronto here because their bullpen is why am I looking at the Dodgers? The Cubs, my apologies. The Cubs only used 1. They've only used 1 relief pitcher in the last 2 days, and they've actually only used 2 relief pitchers across the last 3 days, so I apologize. My mistake. The bullpen edge has to go to the Cubs at this point. I think their bullpen is not that much worse than Toronto's, if at all, and now that their bullpen's more rested, you got to give the Cubs the bullpen edge. I think they have the offensive edge as well. And then looking at the starting pitching, and Chicago might want to bounce back after that game yesterday. Cade Horton is on the mound for the Cubs, and he's a young guy. Didn't really think he was that good, but now I'm looking at his numbers, and all of a sudden, maybe you got to consider that he's actually fairly good. I mean, 3.18 ERA, 1.22 whip, and what I think is maybe his rookie campaign here. Yeah, he hasn't been in the majors until this year. He is a lot worse on the road, though. 5.19 ERA, so that is something to consider. He's been way worse on the road. This month, he has a 0 ERA. He hasn't allowed a run in 4 straight starts now, and in 5 of the last 6, he hasn't allowed any runs, which is insane. But you do have to keep in mind the fact that 4 of those 5 starts are all at home, including his last 2. So he seems to just be really, really good at home. This month, he does have a 9-3 strikeout walk ratio. He's still not going that deep into starts. He's only made it to 6 or more innings 3 times this entire season, which is not that great. But overall, he is pitching a lot better than he was earlier, man. He's limiting the runs that get scored off of him in a major way. So he is actually still pitching fairly well, but again, I do hesitate about him on the road. Toronto only has 1 guy who's seen it before. Ty France is 0 for 2 with a strikeout off him. So Horton does have an unfamiliarity edge. Horton, if your guys are unfamiliar with Horton, you should point them to the Libertarian Institute, baby. Cade Horton, though, he is in good form right now, and Toronto doesn't have any familiarity with him, really. So Horton does have some advantages in this game, but I worry about him on the road. Kevin Gausman pitching for Toronto, having a pretty good season, more or less, although he's been kind of up and down. 3.85 ERA, 1.08 whip on the season. Pretty good. He is a little bit worse at home, 4.26 ERA at home. Coming off a really good start against Colorado in Coors Field, although we know Colorado doesn't hit well, but doing that in Coors Field is still fairly impressive. 7 innings along 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts, 2 walks. Pretty good, but his prior start, he wasn't that good, giving up 5 earned runs against the Royals, who are not a good offense. But he kind of got unlucky in a way because he gave up 2 home runs kind of at the wrong time in that game. He did still have 5 strikeouts and no walks. And if you go all the way back through his last start in June, he's allowed more than 2 earned runs only once besides that 5 earned run game, so only twice since then, and only 3 or more earned runs twice, and one was a start at the A's Stadium, which is a very hitter-friendly park. So you might give him a little bit of a pass for that as well, and he still held them to 3 earned runs. So Gausman, he is still pitching fairly well overall. He has a 13-2 strikeout walk ratio in this month over his last couple starts. But he's got to face the Cubs here, man. He's facing a really good lineup, and the Cubs do hit him pretty well in 82 at-bats in their careers. 19-9 strikeout walk ratio is definitely not that great a ratio. 305 average and 857 OPS allowed. So Gausman does struggle against the Cubs here. Looking at what the market is looking like here. It looks like Toronto's a public home favorite again, and the money kind of fading them. They're up from -120 to -130, but 70% of tickets, only 61% of the cash. So just like yesterday, it looks like the public is kind of on this Toronto train here. thinking, well, oh, Toronto's in first place. They just won again yesterday. Toronto looking fairly good. Cubs, public kind of off the Cubs right now with Milwaukee kind of just destroying recently, and Milwaukee being the hype of the town right now, or the hype of the division right now, I should say. Horton is kind of flying under the radar, though, so if you want to lean to the Cubs in this game, I don't really disagree with it. I think you could argue the starting pitching matchup is a little bit of a wash, and then the Cubs have the advantages otherwise in the game. Money also coming in towards the under. It's flipped from 8.5 juice to the over to 8.5 juice to the over slightly less. 83% of tickets on the over and 56% of the cash on the under. I worry a little bit about Toronto's bullpen usage, although their bullpen is still good generally. So under full game, under first 5 innings. I don't know if I would necessarily disagree with it, but I do worry about Gausman's matchup number. So I think you could argue maybe the Cubs side is the better way to look in this game, especially with the matchup numbers for the starting pitchers actually looking like they favor Horton in that game. Jake, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. If you hang around for the best bet segment, I'll give you what the actual plays that I'm giving out on the show are, which will happen shortly, but I got to get through these other 4 games here. Atlanta at the Mets. I mean, again, this normally would be a pretty good divisional rivalry matchup here, but the Mets, I mean, they've obviously been the better team this year, although Atlanta still really isn't necessarily as bad as their record looks. Atlanta actually has a positive run differential this year, I'm pretty sure, or I think it's slight, but I think they do, which is crazy that they're that far below 500. The Mets had lost a bunch of games in a row. The Mets are on this huge slide, but they just beat up Atlanta 13-5 yesterday. And even though Atlanta might be a little bit embarrassed by that and want to bounce back from that and maybe try to spoil the Mets season a little bit here, Mets are still fighting to get into the playoffs, man, and Atlanta's out of it, so the Mets need the game a little bit more, and the fact that they broke that long loss streak, that could help break that losing momentum, man, because when you've lost that many games in a row, you got to get that monkey off your back, man, so the Mets were able to do that yesterday, so that is a little bit of a positive. The Mets have the better offense out of these 2 offenses. Bullpen usage, Mets only used 2 relief pitchers yesterday and didn't play the day before that. Atlanta didn't play yesterday, or didn't play the game before that either. They'll only use 1 relief pitcher yesterday, so the bullpens are rested. I'll probably say that the Mets probably still have the somewhat better bullpen. Let me see. Here they are. Yeah, they're a little bit middle of the pack, or no, that's hitting. What am I saying? Where's the Mets bullpen at? I know the Mets were better earlier in the year. Yeah, they're still like a middle of the pack bullpen. Braves, I think, is a bit worse, right? Where are the Braves at? I don't even know at this point, man. Because he's actually the Braves in WHIP, they're actually 5th in Major League Baseball. Their ERA bullpen-wise is significantly worse. So Braves bullpen kind of difficult to gauge, man. I don't think they're actually as good as the 5th best bullpen in baseball. They certainly don't have a starting pitching matchup, I wouldn't say either, just on the surface of it. Carlos Carrasco pitching for Atlanta. He's an old journeyman pitcher, man, who really is only in the Braves rotation because they have so many injuries. They kind of just had to pick him up off the scrap heap. And he's not been good this year. Between pitching with the Yankees early in the season and now with the Braves, and he was in the minors for quite a while. 6.18 ERA, 1.58 WHIP. Those are bad numbers. He's a little bit better. He's worse on the road. Where he is today, right? 7.64 ERA on the road. That's not good. Atlanta picked him up, and he had an okay start in his first game against Cincinnati on the road. Giving up 3 earned runs in 6 innings, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks. But in his most recent outing against a Miami offense that doesn't hit that well, he got blasted for 6 earned runs on 9 hits in 5 2/3 at home as well. 2 strikeouts, 2 walks. So Carrasco, I don't think he's really any good, man. I don't think he's going to be good in this game either. However, somehow the Mets only have 3 hitters who have ever faced him before, even though Carrasco has been around for forever. I don't really see how the Mets have never seen him before, but I know he was on the Mets for a few seasons somewhat recently, so I guess the Mets have a lot of these young guys that just haven't seen him before. The guys that have seen him, only 3 guys have seen him before, and they actually have not done well against him in 23 at-bats. Soto has a home run, but overall they're a 174 average off him, 544 OPS, and 3-2 strikeout walk ratio, but they only have 4 hits against him in 23 at-bats. So Carrasco does have fairly good numbers against the Mets, and the unfamiliarity aspect of him might be a little bit advantageous for him, but I still don't think you can trust him, man. I still would guess that he's not going to pitch well. David Peterson pitching for the Mets, he's another one of those guys that I struggle to figure out, but his numbers are pretty good. Even his whip isn't that bad at this point. 2.98 ERA, 1.23 whip on the season. He's better at home as well, 2.33 ERA at home. So his splits are on the right side, whereas Carrasco's are not. He's been a little bit worse recently. He's walked multiple guys in 3 straight outings. This month, he has a 4.5 ERA in 2 starts. The Mets lost both of them, and an 11-4 strikeout walk ratio. Allowed 2 and 4 earned runs in 6 innings in both of those starts, which wasn't that bad, but he was really good in the month of July, so he's actually starting to slide back a little bit. So he's not in his greatest form right now. Does have good numbers against the Braves, though. 95 at-bats, 25-6 strikeout walk ratio. 6 home runs allowed, but 4 of them are Matt Olson. So if he's able to pitch around him, he could probably shut down the Braves for the most part. They only have a 200 average against him at 669 OPS. So even though Peterson looks like he's sliding a little bit, you got to trust him more than you trust Carrasco here. So I do think the Mets pretty much have an edge across the board here, but you have to pay a big price for them. They're up to minus 193 on the money line, 80% of tickets, only 68% of the cash. So the cash is fading the Mets as far as the money line is concerned here. I would not want to come in and really play the side in this game either way, because the market read looks like it's against the Mets, but the Mets, I do think, have the advantages in this game. If you wanted to go over the Mets team total and just have them beating Carrasco a little bit, and maybe that's not a horrible way to look, but Carrasco does have decent numbers against them, at least, and unfamiliarity against them. So if you look at just the matchup numbers, the under might actually make sense in this game. 87% of tickets on the over, but 86% of the cash on the under. Total looks like it ticked up to 9, juice to the under, but the money looks like it's actually coming in on the under. So I don't really want to ever play an under with Carrasco starting, but maybe in this particular matchup, it's not the worst thing. The bullpens are at least somewhat rested, or you could go first 5 under. I'm not gonna really disagree with it. I just have hesitations about it. My Red Sox are at Houston. This starting pitching matchup, just on the surface, looks like it is so one-sided in favor of Houston. Very unfortunate. You went from the Red Sox being a minus 170 favorite in the first game of this series with Crochet on the mound and the Red Sox losing the game, to now Houston being a minus 155 favorite or whatever. But the value might be going against the favorites, man, because you know that a favorite is usually going to be favored by a little bit too much in the market. So that was the case with Crochet on the mound, unfortunately. But the Red Sox won yesterday in blowout fashion. Dustin May, I didn't even look at his stat line, but I guess he didn't pitch badly for the Red Sox, as they wound up winning, I believe 14-1 was the final, and Houston didn't even have a run until very late in the game. So the Red Sox absolutely beat them up yesterday. This game, I mean, both teams need to show up here. They're both fighting for playoff positioning, whatever. Red Sox probably needed a little bit more because they're in the wild card hunt here. Houston, I think, is at least leading their division by a significant amount. Both bullpens are fairly good. I think the Red Sox, you give the Red Sox a little bit of an offensive edge. I think they do have a somewhat better offense. Red Sox only used 2 relief pitchers yesterday. Houston used 3. Using Colton Gordon in long relief, though, to kind of save the rest of their bullpen. So Houston, I would probably give Houston a slight bullpen edge, but only slight. Both bullpens are pretty decent. Walker Buehler, though, pitching for the Red Sox, I'm not in a position where I could trust this guy. I don't think they should have picked him up. 5.4 ERA, 1.56 whip is awful. He's putting way too many guys on base, and he's been really bad on the road. 6.52 road ERA. Not good, although just looking at the runs that he's allowed, he hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start going all the way back into June. So he's sort of becoming the new Brian Bayo, I guess, in a way, because his ERA actually looks good recently. It was 3.57 in July, 2.61 in 2 starts this month. But looking at his strikeout walk ratio, it tells a different story. It was 12-9 in July and 4-5 in this month so far. And one really bad thing is he just faced Houston in Fenway 2 starts ago, and he did awful. He went 4 1/3. Houston got 9 hits off him, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, and no strikeouts. So Houston did well against Buehler in that game, and now they just saw him, so they're recently familiar with him. So I definitely worry about that. Even though Buehler bounced back with a shockingly good 6-inning shutout at San Diego last time up, but Buehler kind of used to pitching in that park because he was on the Dodgers. That is a pitcher-friendly park. I'm not ready to think that he's going to pitch well against Houston, man. When he didn't do well against Houston last time out, he has multiple walks in 4 of his last 5 starts. All of that is not good. And up against Houston, his numbers aren't great either, including that most recent start. 74 at bat, 16-4 strikeout walk ratio is all right, but 284 average, allowed 780 OPS. Those are not very good numbers. Has allowed 4 home runs, although 3 of them are Christian Walker. Walker against Walker, basically there. But you got to say Hunter Brown for Houston. He is the better of the 2 starters. 2.51 ERA, 0.98 whip on the season. This is really his first season where he's been really, really good. We saw glimpses of it last year where it's like he's really starting to become something good. This year he's been great. I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's totally burned out yet this season either, because he hasn't reached his innings pitch count on the season yet that he reached the last 2 seasons. So I think he has more in him this year. He's missed some time with an injury this year, so I don't think he's like totally burned out yet or anything like that. His ERA is slightly better at home, 2.37. He's pitching well for the most part, man. I mean, he's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs down 3 straight starts, although he didn't make it 6 innings in 2 of the 3. But he had kind of a rough July, but I think he had some bad starts kind of around the All-Star game because he was named to, I believe, his first All-Star game. So I think that was a little bit of a distraction. And then again, his most recent 3 starts have been good. And they were against offenses that can hit. The A's and then Boston and the Yankees on the road. So he's pitching pretty well. In those last 2 starts this month, 3 earned runs allowed total across 12 and a third innings, 8 hits allowed, 2 walks, 11 strikeouts. So he is coming back into form. He is pitching well. But yes, the Red Sox did just see him. So the Red Sox are now recently familiar with him. But he pitched really well. 7 innings pitched, gave up 1 earned run against them, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. So the Red Sox might continue to struggle against them. Overall, they don't have good numbers against him in 36 at-bats, 222 batting average, 525 OPS. So I would have to lean to Houston in this game, man. I think they have the starting pitching edge. I think they probably have a slight bullpen edge too, although if you want to go first 5 inning and just focus on the starting pitching match, I think that's okay too. But the money has actually come in on the Red Sox. I don't really understand why. Houston down from -165 to -146, 55% of tickets, 77% of the cash on the Red Sox. So the Red Sox look like an anti-public road underdog here with the money coming in on them. I don't really see it. There's no way that I would put my money on Walker Buehler, man. Even though, as a Red Sox fan, I hope they actually win. But 68% of tickets on the over and 75% of the cash on the under as well. And the totals flip from 8 juice to the over to 8 juice to the under. So the money is coming in on the under as well. I don't know about that either, man. I mean, I can see the Hunter Brown side of that equation, obviously. If you're going full game on it, yeah, you have 2 decent bullpens. So really the thing you have to worry about the most is Walker Buehler in the under equation there. He's really the only problem with the under. So I guess if you go under, you go full game because you have 2 decent bullpens there. I don't really quite see it, though. Dodgers and Anaheim, this is getting ridiculous now, as Anaheim has now won all 5 games against the Dodgers this season. It's crazy. The Dodgers, you got to think they're going to be motivated to try to salvage something here. About to get swept by Anaheim. Anaheim, I don't think they're really going to overlook the Dodgers, though, because, I mean, even though they have a divisional matchup against the A's up next, I mean, this is a big rivalry matchup. I think Anaheim wants nothing more than to sweep the Dodgers on the entire season, 6-0. That would be crazy if that happens. I don't know that it will. Anaheim is the worst bullpen, although I've been saying that all series, and it hasn't hurt them. Although yesterday they used all but 1 relief pitcher, who's their long relief pitcher, Fulmer. So Anaheim's bullpen is definitely used up here. Dodgers bullpen not in a great rest scenario either. They used 5 relief pitchers yesterday, and the Dodgers bullpen isn't really that great either. So we have 2 pretty bad bullpens. So I think if you're looking at this game, you probably want to fade the bullpens. Dodgers do have the better offense out of the 2. Mediocre offense for Anaheim. So it's starting to look like maybe you want to go over in this game. But looking at the starting pitching, I'm not so sure that I would agree with that. Ohtani is pitching for the Dodgers, and he's been good since he's started pitching again. This year, he finally started pitching again, man, after I think not pitching for a year and a half or maybe more than that. 2.37 ERA, 1.11 whip. He's pitching well this season. Been pretty good both home and away. It doesn't even really matter for him. Last start, he actually went 4 innings, so he's they're really slowly kind of ramping him up back to full starter's workload, and he had 8 strikeouts in those 4 innings against St. Louis, allowed 1 earned run. Nice start for him in that start. No walks, so I think Ohtani, he's back in pitching form, man. He's pitching well, and you're probably going to see him go 4 innings or so again in this game unless he really doesn't pitch well. Anaheim only has 2 hitters who have ever faced him before, and of course, Anaheim is his former team as well, and now he's pitching against them. 8 at-bats total for Anaheim against him. 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, no extra base hits, 1 hit, 125 average, 347 OPS. So Ohtani, this is going to be, again, his first time pitching against his former team. But, yeah, he is pitching well right now. And, yeah, I expect him to probably do well again. He'll probably get you through about 4 innings in this game, I would imagine. But then you do have to worry about the bullpens after that. Kyle Hendricks pitching for Anaheim. I don't think he's that good anymore, man. He's kind of an aging guy, but he was struggling quite a bit when he was on the Cubs. But with Anaheim, he actually hasn't been that bad. 4.63 ERA, 1.23 whip really isn't that bad. He's been good at home for the most part, 3.88 ERA. So as far as the over scenario here, I don't know if I necessarily want to fade Hendricks either. And he's been decent recently. He's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs now in 4 straight starts. 5 of the last 6, and actually 7 of the last 9. Actually, no, 9 of the last 11 he's actually done that. So that's pretty crazy. This month, 3.6 ERA in 2 starts, 8-2 strikeout walk ratio. Not doing too badly. He struggled a little bit against Detroit, but he still didn't walk anybody against Detroit. Giving up 3 earned runs on the road. I mean, that's a tough assignment there. He held the White Sox to 1 earned run the start before that. So Hendricks, he's not really in terrible form right now. Dodgers do hit him well, though. In 77 at-bats, he has an 11-14 strikeout walk ratio, which is really bad. A 338 average and 972 OPS allowed. So that's not good. And Ohtani has a home run off him, too. 3 other hitters have home runs off him. So Hendricks' matchup numbers don't look that good against the Dodgers. So that is one part of the equation, and maybe still look to an over here. I probably still do lean to the over in this game, but it's not something I'm going to do. But Ohtani, if he's out of the game still fairly early on, and then you have 2 pretty bad bullpens that are used up. You got 1 questionable starting pitcher on the other side, so most of the components are there for an over. And 1 good offense and 1 decent offense. The total's gone up from 9 to 9.5, which it is that high for a reason. 50% of tickets evenly split on the total, but 81% of the cash on the over. So the money is coming in on the over. And again, I think the public might look at this and say, oh, Ohtani is pitching under. Might be a little bit more, might be a little bit more enticing to go on an under with an Ohtani game. But, yeah, I would probably lean to the over slightly. And then the money looks like it is coming in on the Dodgers, too, up from -195 to -197. I mean, I think they do have a starting pitching edge. If you really want the Dodgers, I would say you probably want to go over their team total. 78% of tickets, 86% of the cash coming in on the Dodgers. But I would just go with the Dodgers to score a lot against Anaheim's potentially bad starting pitcher and bad bullpen. Tampa at the A's to close this thing out before I get to best bets. A's won the first game of the series, surprisingly, in a return home spot. Wasn't a good spot for them. Then they got shut out 6-0 yesterday. So the A's may want to bounce back from that, but I think they are on the worst end of this starting pitching matchup here, man. The A's do have the better offense, but I also think Tampa has the better bullpen. So I think Tampa, you got to give Tampa the edge pitching-wise across the board here. The A's, neither team have used a lot of their bullpen recently, but the A's used a little bit more of theirs yesterday too. So the edge is looking like it's towards Tampa, even though I think you're looking at 2 teams that are both basically out of it now. But the starting pitching, I think, is a fairly strong edge for Tampa with Drew Rasmussen on the mound. He's having a good season, 2.66 ERA, 1 whip. And Tampa's pitching coaches have actually been limiting his pitch count such that they're really keeping him fresh. So it's been working out for him. And even though he's not going that deep into most of his games, he's getting you through like 5 innings, not throwing many pitches, not allowing many runs. And a good thing about Tampa Bay here is that, as I've been saying throughout this series, they're actually used to playing in a weird hitter-friendly stadium, temporary home like the A's have here in Sacramento, because Tampa is playing in one this year in Steinbrenner Field, a spring training stadium. So that might help these pitchers a little bit too. Rasmussen is a little bit worse on the road, 2.85 ERA on the road. So he's actually pitched a little bit better at home in that hitter-friendly park. So he's used to it, man. He's allowed no earned runs in 2 starts this month against the Dodgers and Seattle, which is pretty good. 10 strikeouts, no walks in that span. 8 hits allowed in 11 1/3 innings. Going all the way back through all of his starts in July, he's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in every outing, although in July, he had some really short outings because they were getting ready for him to pitch in the All-Star game, which he did. And then since then, they've kind of ramped him up again. He did have a 5-inning performance against the Yankees where he pitched fairly well as well. So he is in pretty good form right now. And his numbers are pretty good against the A's. It's a small 19 at-bat sample size, but he has held them to a 211 average, 739 OPS, 6-3 strikeout walk ratio. Not great, but other than that, Rasmussen numbers look okay there. Zach, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. The Royals, I did talk about their game already earlier, which I don't even remember what I said about that game at this point, to be honest. You can go back and watch what I said. It's not one of my plays, though. JT Ginn is going to be the starter for the A's. He's kind of mediocre, I guess. 4.39 ERA, 1.24 whip. I think he was coming out of the bullpen until recently, and he's been pretty bad in this stadium at home. 5.54 ERA, which isn't good. Since he's joined the starting rotation, he's actually been okay, allowing 4 or fewer earned runs in every start, failing to go 5 innings in only 1 of those. But his team has lost 3 of the 4. His last 2 outings have been a little bit worse, with a 7-3 strikeout walk ratio and 6.75 ERA. Against Arizona, who is a good offense, but Baltimore, who isn't. So I guess try to figure out all that information there, try to process it. Against the Rays, they're actually 0 for 6 off in lifetime. They haven't seen a whole lot of them with 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. So do with that information what you will as well, I guess. But I still would lean to Rasmussen's side in this game. The money seems to be coming in on Tampa. They're a favorite, though, one of those road favorites. But this is one that the public doesn't seem to love, and the money seems to be coming in on them. They're up from -120 to -126. I think the public somewhat likes the A's because they have all those young, hyped hitters like Nick Kurtz there. 54% of tickets and 63% of the cash on Tampa. I don't disagree with it, and they should have the bullpen edge as well, so I would agree slightly leaning towards Tampa in that game if I was going to play that game. And it's actually a fairly low total for an A's home game. It's under 10, which you don't see that often. It's dropped a little bit further to 9.5 juice to the under. 54% of the tickets on the over. 54% of the cash also on the over. I could see the game potentially going under early in the game. I don't think I would want to include the A's terrible bullpen as part of that equation. But if you want to go with both starters to do okay in the game, I could see that maybe being a first 5 under. Let's get to best bets, man, so this doesn't wind up being a really long video. Best bets, baby. We're best betting. The first game up, this is a public side, man, and I just think that the matchup is just too lopsided. We're going to go with the Brewers, and we're going to be on the Brewers train. I know they're the hype. They have the best team in baseball. They've won 1,000,000 games in a row, whatever it is. I think it's 12, something like that. They just keep doing it, man, and they're just the better team across the board here, man. I think they have a significant starting pitching edge in this game, too. So we're going to go with the Brewers run line, which you can get at plus money here right now. It's basically like playing a spread, and I know the Brewers, their offense is actually better on the road than it is at home, but they have the way better offense over Pittsburgh, so that's one part of the equation. Pittsburgh's offense is probably the worst in baseball. Milwaukee, yes, I know they don't hit quite as well at home, and yes, I know they won't hit in the 9th inning if they're already ahead, so you lose 1 inning of at-bats as far as this run line is concerned, but I still think it's worth it in this one, man. Oops, sorry. Pittsburgh got bombed yesterday. Paul Skeens actually only lasted about 4 innings in the game, gave up 2 home runs. They gave up 4 home runs, so it was one of Paul Skeens' worst starts of his entire career, and Pittsburgh actually does really bad in games after Paul Skeens games for whatever reason. I think it's just that sometimes they win the Paul Skeens games and they're feeling kind of high on themselves or whatever, but I think Pittsburgh has a really bad record in games after the Paul Skeens game, so that's one part of this equation as well. But Milwaukee also got themselves deeper into the game yesterday, going against Paul Skeens. I forget who the pitcher was from Milwaukee yesterday, but whoever it was it Quintana? I don't even remember. But Milwaukee saved their bullpen quite a bit. And I think they actually have the better of the two bullpens, even though Pittsburgh's isn't that awful. Pittsburgh had to use more relief pitchers yesterday because their bullpen was involved in the game earlier on. So I give Milwaukee a bullpen edge here as well. And starting pitching, if you look at it, Mitch Keller pitching for Pittsburgh, yeah, he's got pretty decent numbers this year. 3.86 ERA, 1.23 whip. He's been pretty much the same home and away, so his splits aren't significant, but he hasn't been good lately. Even though Pittsburgh has actually won 5 starts in a row of his, and 7 of his last 8 starts. I know he's only allowed more than 3 earned runs once in those starts, but all of his worst starts have been more recent, where he only went 2 innings at San Francisco and allowed 3 earned runs on 3 walks. That's terrible. He's allowed 3 walks in 3 of his last 4 starts. This month, he only went 5 and 5 2/3 innings in each of his starts. He gave up 5 runs, though at Coors Field, so maybe, I guess, you give him a little bit of a pass for that. And then he didn't bounce back that well with a 3-3 strikeout walk ratio. 2 earned runs allowed is okay against Cincinnati in 5 2/3, but it wasn't the greatest start for him, so he is not in the greatest form right now. 5.91 ERA and 7-4 strikeout walk ratio this month certainly does not inspire a lot of confidence. And his numbers against the Brewers are not very good. And 92 at bats, 25-8 strikeout walk ratio is pretty good, but 326 average allowed, 869 OPS. So he's been beaten up by the Brewers, man. So I don't think he matches up very well. And he's going up against Brandon Woodruff, who missed over an entire season with an injury, and I think people completely forgot about him. And he was really, really good throughout his career prior to that, and now he's back, and he's shown basically no signs of not being himself. You know, like, he hasn't even had one bad start. Like, sometimes these guys will come back and they'll struggle a little bit to get back into rhythm. Not him. He's been awesome. 2.29 ERA, 0.65 whip. Yeah, I don't think he can keep up numbers that are that good, but I don't think he's going to regress really that extensively. I know he's been a little bit worse at home, 3.12 ERA, which is still good. Milwaukee's won all 6 of his starts, and he's picked up the win in 4 of them this entire season. He's failed to go 6 innings only once in a start against Washington, and they're actually a pretty decent road hitting team for whatever reason. He's still only allowed 2 earned runs in that game. He has not allowed more than 2 earned runs in any start the entire season. He has a 45-6 strikeout walk ratio, and he's been almost unhittable, allowing only 17 hits in 35 1/3, although it's kind of weird that he's allowed 7 home runs out of those 17 hits. You usually don't see that. So his one problem is that he allows, when people actually are able to make contact with him, which doesn't happen very often, they actually hit him hard, probably because it's that fastball, and probably he's trying to blow a fastball by somebody, and they actually connect for a home run. But other than that, he's been really, really good. He's up against a real bad Pittsburgh lineup here, and he has pretty dominant numbers against them in 72 at-bats, a big sample size, 28-7 strikeout walk ratio, 153 average, allowed him 520 OPS, so he dominates them. I know the public is going to be on this side. They're probably not going to want to lay a huge price like this, but the money looks like it's come in on Milwaukee. They shot all the way up from -190 to -240, so I know the better prices are gone. It looks like the public is on them, 84% of tickets, but now only 83% of the cash. That's on the money line market there, but I still think Milwaukee on the run line is the way to go here, man. I just think it's a starting pitching mismatch, like just throughout the entire game. So that's the way that I'm going in this game, and I think the initial money move was so significant that I think that was what matters more than this like cash percentage you can't really read that much into. I know we're joining the public on this one, but I just think it's right. The money is coming in on the under, which worries me a little bit about a home favorite covering a run line, but 64% of tickets on the over, 57% of the cash on the under, and the total's all the way down to 7.5 juice to the under. But I think Milwaukee can get to Keller, man, because they have been able to do that in the past, and I like Woodruff a lot, man. So Milwaukee run line is my first play, and then to finish this, we're going under, which you might have guessed in this one, Minnesota and the New York Yankees. The public, they're not going to want to play an under in a Yankees game, man. We see 62% of the tickets are on the over in this one, but 64% of the cash coming in on the under. So I do think the money is coming in on the under in this one. Just like it was in the, the Minnesota, or not Minnesota, the Cleveland, whatever game that was, Cleveland-Miami, which that one was almost a play for me. I still agree with the under in that one. I think I just prefer this one a little bit more. I think more things kind of fall in line with this one. 64% of the cash on the under here. The totals dropped from 8.5, juice to the over to just 8.5. It's kind of a low total for a game in the Bronx, which I know is a hitter-friendly park, so you do have to worry about that a little bit. But I kind of think this is going to be a pitching duel, and yes, I know I don't like either bullpen. So if you want to go first 5 innings here, you could do that too, because the bullpens kind of stink, but they're pretty rested right now. The Yankees hardly used their bullpen yesterday. They used 2 relief pitchers for very few pitches, and Minnesota, they used 3 relief pitchers, but Hatch basically they pretty much went with a bullpen game yesterday. They pretty much saved their bullpen. So Minnesota's bullpen usage is not that high either. So I'm okay with doing it. Again, if you want to go first 5 innings, that's okay too. Minnesota, their offense isn't that good. I know the Yankees' offense is good, but they do actually struggle. When the Yankees' offense struggles, they kind of struggle mightily in games, and this might be one of those games. I'm hoping that it is. So they do have some under games, man. And I'm hoping that happens here because Joe Ryan is pitching for Minnesota, man. And now that he knows the trade deadline is behind him, then he knows he's on Minnesota for the rest of the season. He gets to pitch against the Yankees here, which I think is going to pump him up, man, because he gets to pitch against a good team here. He's been good this season. He's Minnesota's best starter, 2.79 ERA, 0.92 whip. He has a better ERA on the road, 2.55 ERA on the road. He's in okay form recently, 9-1 strikeout walk ratio this month, allowing 2 or fewer earned runs in both starts. Granted, it was Cleveland and Kansas City, so he is stepping way up in class here. But 2.45 ERA this month. Last month, 2.7 ERA with a 33-4 strikeout walk ratio. Even with the All-Star shenanigans and having to pitch in the All-Star game there, he only had 1 bad start. He hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs besides that 1 bad start against Washington shortly after the All-Star game, going all the way back into early June, and that was a start against the A's. So if you take that one out of the equation, he hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any starts since April. Other than that, so he's definitely pitching well. I think he's settled in again. He knows, he's finishing off the season here. And he actually doesn't have bad numbers against the Yankees, as good of an offense as they are. 46 at-bats. He has a 19-3 strikeout walk ratio against them. He's held him to a 239 average, 699 OPS. So Joe Ryan has actually done pretty well against the Yankees. I know it feels like going with an under with the Yankees game is dangerous, man. But I've done it before. Some of it has been to my detriment, but I think it's going to be the way to go here. And then Cam Schlittler is on the mound for the Yankees. I think he actually has something, man, even though his numbers don't look very good. 4.38 ERA and a really bad 1.66 whip. He's got to get his walk numbers down, man. His walk numbers have definitely been a concern. I know he's worse at home, 4.91 ERA at home. All of that is a concern, but he hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any outing. So it's all kind of spread across all of his starts here. He's kind of limiting opponents a bit as far as their run totals are concerned. So that's a good sign. Both starts this month, even though the Yankees have lost 3 starts in a row of his, he only allowed 2 earned runs in each start. He went 5 innings in each start. His walk rate went down, so he has a 9-3 strikeout walk ratio this month with a 3.6 ERA. So he is starting to pitch better this month, man. He induces a decent amount of ground balls. So really the only thing to really dislike about him right now is he's allowed too many home runs, which still remains a problem. And his walk numbers were bad earlier on, but not as bad in his last 2 starts. But what kind of puts this over the top for me is that Minnesota has never faced him before. So I think these young pitchers that actually have talent, they have a little bit of an extra edge when they're facing an offense that's never seen them before. So under is going to be the way I'm going in that game, man. Again, if you want to go first 5 innings, you could do that too. But we're going under in Minnesota Yankees. Shale Schlittler. Shekels, Schlittler shekels. We're putting the Schlittler shekels on this, although I will point out again, I'm not actually betting any of these right now because I'm trying to be a little bit more conservative with my money right now, but that's the way that it is. These are plays that I would be making bets on if I was still betting right now. Again, Milwaukee Brewers, -1.5 run line, and under the total in Minnesota Twins, New York Yankees. Those are the plays. That's going to do it. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Bettor Off Dead, of course, on YouTube. Subscribe, like the videos, do everything, man. Share it around, interact. Let's get this thing going. Let's get this thing monetized. I'm also on the audio platform, so please, give me a rating over there on Apple or Spotify. All of that helps me out as well. Not getting a whole lot of traction on there right now. And then I do have Covered in Uke is my ukulele project on YouTube. Trying to ramp that up a little bit more as well. I don't have a voice right now, so I can't sing for a while right now. But we'll get back to it, I hope, once my voice heals up a little bit, which I have to stop doing this show probably for that to happen. Or I have to somehow limit my voice a little bit, and I have to just talk more softly, right? Let me know if you guys can hear it, and maybe I should just like project less, but I'm just kind of I'm a loud talker, man. It's my Sicilian nature. I'm slightly black, or at least African. Anyway, all that's going to do it. But yeah, Covered in Uke. Please check that out in patreon.com/learntotode. And you can get bonus Uke content at the very least right now. That's going to do it. Everybody have a good one today. Happy Wednesday and peace.